All right, welcome to another episode of Not Investment Advice. This is Bilal Zaidi. We got our boys, NAI boys in the house. What's happening? Jack Butcher, Visualize Value founder, and Trung Phan, writer at The Hustle and the King meme artist on Twitter.
Yo,
all right, boys.
I had a banger this week. I don't know if you guys saw that. I got
on
a
Twitter?
banger on the Apple meme.
The cricket guy.
Yeah. Oh yeah. We'll talk about that later.
All right. I want to hear the cricket thing. Before we do, I want to chat to Trung about something in a second. But real quick, let's let people know what we're going to talk about, yeah?
Yeah.
So today we got some philosophical stuff coming up on the edge of the internet. We're going to talk about NFT communities. We're going to talk about Mirror. We're going to give a Toad update, Cryptoadz, if you were following from last episode. Jack's been stirring the pot a little bit with this duplicate thing, which he'll explain in a minute. And we're going to do a little roundup of what's been going on in a week with Miamicoin, Opensea, insider trading, and some stuff on Apple. But before we do that, Trung, I want to hear what the hell happened, mate. You were telling us earlier you got your car towed. What happened, mate?
Yeah, man. I don't know. Have you guys ever had your cars towed?
I don't think I have. I don't think I have, to be fair, but it's the worst.
It's the worst, right? Like, so you go in, you're enjoying a meal with your family. And you know how like parking signs, you ever go down the street and it's just not clear where you can park? Like the city puts on they put signs over signs if there's like a temporary no parking. I mean, you guys you live in New York, man. This stuff is everywhere.
Yeah, it's annoying.
The funny thing about this, I'll tell you why this story is funny, is because so I go outside, my car is gone, and your immediate instinct isn't even, hey, it got jacked. It's like, okay, I got towed, right? It's just like nobody goes and you see your car machine like, oh, my car got jacked. It's like my car got towed, and then you got to search for walk around the block, see where they're gonna tow you. They always have a sign. It's like, if we take your car, it's gonna end up here. And so like I have to jump in a cab to go to the lot. It's like 45 minutes away. And what's funny is that the entire time you're in this cab ride, you're thinking about what you're gonna say to the towing guys, right? You come up with all these scenarios where you're gonna like yell at them, curse in their face, and just be like, "Oh, you guys are effing idiots! This is so dumb." So what happens? I show up there, I'm fired up. I've been in this 30, 45-minute car ride, ruminating about what I'm gonna do to these tow truck guys. You get there, I walk to the counter, 300-pound dude, tattoos up to
like a neck tattoo.
Neck tattoo, full arm tattoo. Dude's just jacked up. And everything you thought about for 45 minutes, you roll in there and you're just like, hey, man, where can I pay? So sorry.
Straight. The Mr. Polite Trung comes out.
Just the total Canadian, right? All these fake scenarios that you have in your head. You roll up to this dude, you look at it, you glance at it for 1 millisecond.
Brave.
You apologize. Hey, man, I'm so sorry. I should have looked at the signs. I made your life harder. What is it? What do I owe? I'll pay double. No, I just find it funny, man. It's just
I know, man. It's the
classic,
worst,
man. I mean, think about the type of personalities that car towing selects for, and because you got to take people's cars.
You've thought about this a lot, dude.
Yeah, because you're gonna be.
That was a long car ride,
you're going to be in some confrontational things, right? Like I wouldn't be able to tow people's cars for a living because the dude's like, hey, man, what are you doing? I'm like, oh, yeah, you ran the meter. He's like, no, I want my car. I'm like, okay, man, you can have your car back. But like for you to like tell this guy no, like I'm not even saying this in a negative way. It's like you have to have a very particular type of personality to be like, if you're taking somebody's whip and then they're like giving you beef, you're just like, no, I'm out of here.
It's like a bouncer, man. You got to be up for the confrontation. Dude, every time you say toad, I'm just having PTSD again from last week. So,
yeah, dude, tell us why, man.
Well, yeah, because if people have listened to last episode, Cryptoadz was the NFT project that Jack really broke down. And all week I was trying it out, man. I was going on Opensea late at night, like on my Chrome browser on my phone, coming back to my Mac at like 1 a.m., trying to like make the most of the gas fees being lower. It's been a wild one.
So right now, are you taking an L? Do you own a Toad?
No, I did get one, but I got one probably like 7-8 times higher than the original price that we talked about last week. But we'll see.
Well, I mean,
we'll see how
Jack
it goes.
will tell you, man. Jack's not going to tell you this. I will tell you this. Not investment advice, but I mean, listen, man, if you're here to flip, Bilal, you're going to get burned. If you're a long-term, high-conviction investor, why are you even looking, buddy? Why are you looking at the daily price charts?
It's ridiculous. Bro. Yeah, I know. Lock it away. All right. So, boys, let's get straight into this, man, because Jack, you shared this in the Telegram group, this Mirror article. We're going to talk about what Mirror is in a little bit, but it was all about NFT communities. So we've talked about tangentially on the podcast, like being in the Bored Ape one, and then also like the Cryptoadz one. You were saying you were seeing all this interesting stuff. So what was this about? Kind of what was the summary of that?
Sure. So let's not rely on the screen share here, but basically I am a part of a group called Dark Star DAO, a couple of guys I met on Twitter who are great writers, much more talented writers than I am, but I contributed illustrations to these pieces that they've been writing on Web3. So the transition from Web2 to Web3, they've done 3 or 4, maybe actually a few more than that, but I've been contributing for that long. And the one they published this week, the headline is, "Today's Web3 communities are the McMansions of the internet," which is obviously a provocative headline.
Okay, well, here, hold on a sec. Explain. I mean, you're like, first of all, Jack, you're in Atlanta right now, right?
I am.
Okay, there's a lot of McMansions in Atlanta.
That's true.
Can you tell people what a McMansion is, and then what the insinuation with these communities are? Why is it provocative?
So McMansion, obviously, the implication there comes from the very successful, widely scaled fast food restaurant McDonald's. So producing things at scale that are not necessarily up to the highest of qualities in the given category in terms of ingredients. So
that's such a good explanation.
So maybe in terms of a domicile, that means I mean, we need a visual here, really, but
here it is. I think it's
kind of copy and paste. Yeah, copy and paste, cookie cutter, like built at scale. No real regard for culture or the surrounding area. It's just like, let's find this templated thing and just chuck it down and get somebody to live in there, right? And on paper, they get the job done, and there's plenty of reasons why people choose to live in what would be called a McMansion. But the comparison being made in this article is that people are developing these places, destinations on the internet, and you're kind of naming a subdivision, and then you're just trying to get people to live there, right? But the thing that makes a community thrive is kind of the opposite of that. It's the bakery, the coffee shop, the artists, the people that connect the community together, the activities that happen in the community. So the comparison that's being made, or the sort of analogy, is that these 10,000 derivative projects that have happened since we've been discussing, I mean, CryptoPunks is 2017. Bored Apes is probably, a second just in terms of mind share in NFT avatar community world. And since Bored Apes have come out, there has to be in the 4 figures of copycat projects, right? You could just
really, there's thousands of copycats.
I mean, there has to be dozens coming out every day since then, and it's kind of indicative of the permissionless nature of the thing, right? You can just spin it up, find an artist. Oftentimes these things are, you're just trying to get exposure in this really, really white hot market, and it's like everyone's trying to look for the next Bored Apes, and the FOMO that comes with these things selling out in 12 minutes, 15 minutes, whatever it might be, is that's enough. In the same way that like building this McMansion complex and posting cool photos of the places gets people interested, but when you move there, then what do, right? This is actually an interesting comparison. I've just moved from Nashville to Atlanta. What makes one neighborhood more valuable than another? It's like you can live in a beautiful house in a place that you wouldn't necessarily want to spend a lot of time, right? If you do a 10-minute lap, walk in any direction from where you live, if there's nothing that you want to do around you, or there isn't a community of people that are helping to like add value to that neighborhood, doesn't matter how nice the house is, right? So it's it's kind of a chicken and egg argument, and anybody who's interested in this should read the piece. I'm probably leaving out some of the nuance that these guys wrote up in there. One of the other analogies they used when they were drafting it was Deadwood. Do you know that TV show?
Yeah, HBO.
I haven't actually watched it, but I think it's just an interesting comparison. If you think about what a settlement is, like if you're trying to build an environment where you want to attract people to spend time and raise, develop an area economically, there's no real different than doing that digitally. Only your competition is 100 times, 1,000 times more aggressive, because to move away from an area physically, right, it's a huge amount of effort.
There's no friction.
These like Discord communities or profile picture avatar that are supposedly investments, like you can flick between 1,000 of them in the months, and you're just kind of chasing the financial return instead of this symbol being representative of this like ground up value creation system, which we talked about. Decentralized Disney, how can you get talent to collectively make the IP more valuable? And that's like a cultural problem rather than a shiny product positioning thing. It's built in from early on.
How much progress has Bored Ape made, in your opinion? I know that there's been a lot of talk we've seen on Twitter about like, hey, if you weren't flipping Bored Apes for crazy gains, would anybody actually care? How can you talk about the community stuff, or like, what are you thinking? Like, have you seen anything substantive from the community of Bored Apes?
Yeah, I mean, they've done some interesting things around like people physically building networks around. Big cities in the States have had physical meetups of people that are part of that collection of people. They've done a few collaborations with like metaverse companies, so it's like Decentraland, places that are developing these like VR experiences. They're building rigged characters for 3D experiences in the metaverse. I think like the speculation component is always going to be there, and now they just kind of have to back that up. It's like this really delicate dance of forecasting out what this thing is going to be, or where the roadmap promises to lead. Is no different than any startup, right? It's like you have this insanely high valuation, and then at a certain point, there is some fundamental, that there's a bigger component of it is like this unquantifiable status thing. If it does cover this functional stuff, that's fantastic. But it's the first one, then there's cultural significance that justifies a certain amount of the investment too. But if you come after that, you have a way to climb.
Okay, Jack, so you're talking about comparing NFT projects to like a startup, and you've seen so many. The fact that you told me there's thousands actually blows my mind. I was like, oh, cool. It's like dozens of NFT projects. So thousands. What are like 5 common quote unquote milestones you might see in an NFT project?
So a lot of them now are just sort of emulating the Bored Ape playbook, which was airdrops. So one of the things you get to do when you have the addresses of everyone that's a member is they can create new art or new tokens that represent a certain piece of utility within their network. But the Bored Apes did the dogs. Do you remember? I think we talked about that on one of them.
Yeah, I think
so they airdrop that, and there's already obviously network effect there. So they end up essentially airdropping tens of thousands of dollars to all their members, right? Which is fascinating. And then they do like bits and pieces with wearables in Metaverse, Decentraland, things of that nature. They then did Mutants, which is like another like semi-airdrop, semi-gamified thing where they created, I think we talked about that too, it's like 2 markets. They drop these serums, and then you get to decide whether you combine the serum with the ape you held or you sell it on the secondary market. So those things are like very much, make people hang on to their stuff because they're going to get more free stuff in the future, which is creative and can be executed well. But then, the longer term stuff is like, how does this play out in the physical world? A couple projects are doing like really interesting things with like play to earn mechanics, and you look at like loot and all of those like really like derivative focus projects where the value gets spread out automatically really, really fast by design, then maybe there's like a token that represents the in-game currency or the network's chosen currency, and then the price of that is driven by all of the value that people are creating in all these different places. So there's all sorts of different mechanics. There is like this cliche that goes around where it's like, you know, when's the airdrop? When's the 3D game? When's the this, right? Because everyone's just sort of copying the same playbook.
Yeah.
But I think what's fascinating is these, because we're early, like these first like set of communities, and these guys make this point in the article, don't have any focus in terms of like who they attract and what they produce. So it's very, very it's like if you had an organization of 10,000 people that didn't quite know what it was they were producing, it's very hard to organize them against a goal. But over time, you'll get the design specific DAO token, blah, 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 right? Where maybe they're building products together, right? And as those products scale and they get adopted, then that increases the value of access to this community, or they like make a market between like designers and people who need a specific type of design services. I think we talked about how VV might pull that off at a certain point. So how would you transition a business like Visualize Value into the metaverse or into a DAO? It's like, okay, if there are 1,500 memberships, let's say, you sell them as NFTs. It's a gated thing. Same thing Shiny Objects Club does. And you can then use the VV brand to bring opportunity to all of those people and produce design work that goes back out into the world and increases the footprint of Visualize Value. So you kind of have this, there's all of these different things you can use this as you could think of it as a membership to a value creating entity. And the more specific that like path to value creation is, I think, I don't know, that we're in a phase right now where it's just such like just being involved in it is valuable because people are just interested in it, right? It doesn't even have to have that specific of a definition. But as the space matures, it feels like that you are going to have to start to justify, why would I join X versus Y versus Z? Because the arbitrage opportunity of just buying the picture and then flipping it for a 10X profit, that's just not going to be here forever, right? That not markets will mature and that behavior will slowly erode.
Well, I think that meme really crystallizes, like, when's the airdrop? When's the metaverse game, right? So it's good, but that's good to know, though. It's always good to know what like the kind of best executed things are, and then you can laugh at everything else.
It's like the Theranos of NFT projects, right? Like when's the 4D metaverse game going to be built? It's like, there's like 4 dudes running this thing that have never built a game ever, right? You know, to take the counter side of that argument, they also just raised $100 million and everyone in the world wants to be a part of this thing. So you can have access to talent in a different way. But, you know, it's part of this is me commentating from a point of like pure inexperience, but it's just interesting to see how it's just like this magic combination of excitement in a different way than like an angel investment would be, right? Because just like absent of any product or value being created, there is still speculation, and the market is getting bigger just because people see value in purely being a part of it and being able to display that they're a part of it. So that the argument in this article is like it's going to need to turn into more than that over time for this to be sustainable and to also not give the market like a terrible name, right? I think probably .com was a similar deal.
Bilal, I think we have something good on the menu regarding giving the NFT market a terrible name. I don't know if we're ready to transition into that.
Maybe we save that for later for Opens. Well, why don't we quickly talk about it since you brought it up? Yeah, I guess what happened in the last week is that Opensea came out and confirmed that I think he was a head of product, or there was someone, an employee there who essentially was front running announcements. So they were going to feature an NFT on their homepage, and he was buying it before, obviously it gets pumped, and it's equivalent of insider trading, I guess. I don't know.
Not illegal. Let's make clear. It's not illegal. It's against employee handbooks.
Policy,
but most importantly, it's awful for the optics of the space, right?
Completely.
I mean, that's the real problem here, right? It's not quote unquote illegal, but it's terrible for NFTs. Like,
and it's not illegal because the law hasn't caught up with this new world, right? Whereas at least, good they have a policy for that. But of course, that's a terrible thing for the space in general and for Opensea as well. Yeah, what do you guys think of that? I mean, is this going to be? I mean, I'm sure there's a lot more of this going on, of course, in other companies as well. It doesn't mean it's like completely rife and everyone's doing it, but it just seems like such a. I mean, if this guy was that senior as well, I mean, it's kind of a ridiculous thing.
Crazy, dude. The head of product is doing that.
Yeah, and also, I mean, you can trace this quite easily, right? Like, it's not.
I think that's underrated part of the story is that, like,
yeah,
they're like, oh my god, the market's so. Well, there's two parts. Let me tie in one thing to this. Also, earlier this week, there was a fake press release from Walmart that said it was accepting Litecoin.
We forgot about this.
There's a fake press release that was just saying that it accepted this, very underused coin that's been around for a while, Litecoin. And Litecoin, the coin price went up 20%. A bunch of news outlets picked up this story, and then Walmart came out and said, no, this isn't true. Litecoin, implodes or falls back down. But then, there are two parts to this. So the reason why I want to tease out two parts is that the first reaction is obviously from the mainstream media that own Zero Bored Apes or NFTs. They're like, oh my God, crypto needs to be regulated. This is so irresponsible. And then the crypto people are just like, wait a second. It was all the media outlets that were reporting everything, right? Like Reuters reported it. And then like Business Insider and CNBC just took that Reuters news piece, didn't verify. Didn't verify it and started posting it. Probably helped pump the price too. So what I'm trying to add is like, I'm not saying either. They're both kind of the whole situation.
They can both be bad things at the same time. Yeah.
And the reason I'm going to bring it back to the Opensea thing is, man, let's make no bones about it, right? The phrase that Jack likes to use, no bones about it. The head of product for Opensea, the largest NFT marketplace in the world, which did 4 billion in transactions in August, just to give a framework. I think they did like 20 million last year, 20 to 100 million all of last year, right? And then they did 4 billion in August, something crazy like that. But the point being, okay, so you have the head of product of the number one marketplace for NFTs doing what is in effect insider trading. A terrible optics, right? But there's also the flip side is, it's an open, decentralized marketplace. Who tracked it down, right? It was people using the marketplace because everything is there. All the information is wholly transparent. So there's both sides of it where the Walmart Litecoin story was like, okay, well, you can see how both sides are wrong, right? In the NFT story, you can see, well, actually, there's more nuance to the story. There's other parts of it that if you actually, instead of just having this knee-jerk reaction, if you look at all the pieces of it, you're like, okay, well, there's actually a silver lining here, which is pretty clear, right?
Yeah, well, I think it comes back to that old, the old kind of argument, like when crypto first came around and there was obviously Silk Road or whatever. Like the first thing majority of people would say is, oh, that's just used by criminals, it's used for bad stuff. And then when you learn more about it, you realize actually cash is used for a lot of bad stuff too. That doesn't make cash bad. And if anything, this is more traceable than cash in most cases.
Cash is untraceable.
Exactly. Yeah, it's just pieces of paper. So yeah, again, I think the way you described it is perfect there. Like both things can be true. Like it doesn't mean it makes it okay for this person to be doing this terrible stuff. And on the flip side, the media, as usual, are kind of pointing fingers and not realizing the hypocrisy in what they're doing themselves.
Well, actually, I'll tell you one way that I was wrong. Cash can be traced, but you can easily make it untraceable, right? So in Vancouver, where I live, there's a very significant money laundering scheme in Vancouver, and it involves. So you guys might be familiar. I'll look at the audience. It's like over the past 10, 20 years, Vancouver's real estate market is one of the highest in the world. It's up there with Hong Kong, Sydney, Australia, probably San Francisco and New York, and London, like all these places that rich people want to live in, right? A lot of the money comes from China. Well, there's another layer to it. A lot of the money actually is probably related to the fentanyl trade that China has. So you have billions of fentanyl money coming into Vancouver. And the way they wash it is so sketchy. And this is very different than like Ethereum or Bitcoin, which is much more traceable. So there's a bunch of casinos in Vancouver. So what these guys were doing, they'd walk into these casinos with hundreds of $1,000s in cash. They'd exchange the cash for casino chips. And then they'd go around and play for a little bit. They might lose like a couple G's, but then after a couple of hours, they just swap out the chips for new tender. And this is like a huge thing. And then take all this, like a lot of it is fentanyl money and just buying up real estate in Vancouver. And I mean, here's the sick part is like my parents own a lot of real estate in Vancouver. So they're indirectly, I'm indirectly, kind of profiting from it. Well, anybody that's in Vancouver is, right? All the housing prices are going up. So like on the one hand, you're like, oh, this
the ways
is really
of the world,
bad.
Trunk. It's the ways
and then
of the
on the
world.
other hand, you look at the government assessment on your property, you're like, oh, that's kind of nice.
I love how Trung always manages to bring the drug trade into the conversation, but
it's everywhere.
It's all entwined, dude.
Yeah,
no, that's a really good summary of what's been going on. Is there anything else on that? Because I think we had, a question from the Telegram group was from Ash, and he said, with the latest news and Litecoin shenanigans, what sort of regulations do we need for the industry so that it can thrive and not be spoiled by the bad few? We kind of touched on it there, but that's more of a regulation question.
I think it's also like some of this doesn't have to do with crypto. It's just like the liquidity of markets and information at this point. Like GameStop, no crypto involved in that. That went absolutely ape shit,
yeah,
right? Because the right people got the right message in the right place at the right time. And that's like my view on this is like, you want to regulate any of this stuff, you're going to have to like start closing off parts of the internet. You're going to have to stop. You're going to have to like curtail what people are allowed to say and how far it can spread, because that's where all this behavior comes from. Litecoin or dollars or whatever, like leverage on Robinhood is just as much crazy, like nutty economic outcomes happening as a result of that than there is like, this is clearly like probably somebody's like trying to produce some liquidity to get out of some massive Litecoin position, right? So they just like fabricate it's clever as hell, obviously illegal, but clever. So you fabricate this press release. I think it was like Walmart-corp.com. And then like probably some little PR agency is just like, oh, this is a massive deal. We got like, they just have access to Newswire. They just post it up and off it goes. And like, I think a lot of people, a lot smarter than me, have talked about this of like, disinformation and the speed of like, you could do a deep fake of Biden announcing that Litecoin is going to be the like currency of US freaking treasury, right? And eventually at some point, like that's what you're going to have to regulate, not how the markets work. And I don't know if you can or how you do that. I just think it's like the problem is an order of magnitude more complicated than saying, hey, we need to like do smart regulation on how crypto moves around, because even KYC and all that stuff, it's not really about, because the spike in that wasn't driven by bad actors, it was driven by bad information, right? Well, it was what was driven by bad actors, the catalyst, but then the liquidity that went into Litecoin was just retail investors for the most part, probably.
And the spread was powered by the media as well.
I was saying I totally agree with Jack. I don't think it's specific. To answer the Telegram question specifically, Bilal, who asked it?
That was Ash asked that, and he was asking about regulation.
I think I'm going to go with kind of Jack's position here. Is I don't think this is specific to crypto. Everything that's going on of WSB. Actually, something very similar happened. Not in a negative or illegal way, or not that we know of. But you guys remember 2-3 weeks ago, somebody predicted that Amazon was doing something, Affirm, and they just did it by digging up the URLs. They're like, oh, this Amazon.com/Affirm is going to a website now. And they're like, this either means that they're going to partner with them likely, or maybe there's an acquisition. What the funny thing is, that guy ended up not making the right trade. I think his futures option on it was off. He might have had other ones that might have paid off. But somebody was saying, okay, we actually don't know if it was if this was all above board. But if you're an Amazon employee, you could kind of, tell it to your friend or pass it down a couple, put it out there, and when the real announcement is going to happen, but you want people in the WSB community to run it up, right? So you could have done it. We're not saying it happened, but it wouldn't be that difficult to see somebody potentially leaking that, and like 2 weeks later, they profit before the actual announcement comes out, right?
Or it just feels like
You can put in a position which won't look suspicious.
Like no one has the resources to stay on top of this. Like there are no 3-lettered agency that can track the spread of information at the speed and scale it does now. Like,
I mean, if Facebook and Google can't, how are they going to do it? Do you get what I mean? Like, they
It's
own
just
the servers
crazy.
and the platform and the code. And like, you can't, I think you've brought up a great point. It's just the task itself is nothing to do with crypto specifically. Crypto is just a part of digital infrastructure. And it's really about how do you regulate, spread of misinformation, which is way beyond, bad actors, spread of misinformation, insider trading. Like, there's many parts to it. Yeah.
And who decides that stuff too? Like, did you see the Portnoy stuff? He did the AOC post. He was complaining about AOC at the Met Gala with the tax and Rick dress on, and it got a little label on it saying this might lack context or be misleading. It's
he got labeled?
Yeah. And then he posted a screenshot of that.
And he was like, what is this? And again, it's like, whether you agree with his opinion or not, it's like, what do you mean it lacks context? Every tweet that's ever been sent on Twitter lacks context, right? Every single...
That's by definition, yeah.
Yeah, it's just the most ridiculous thing to label it with. And it just feels like somebody in the position to label that thing doesn't agree with it, so it's been labeled, right?
Yeah.
And I don't want to sound like I'm going like tinfoil hat, Alex Jones over here.
Red pill section.
But that is like really getting into some weird territory, right? Where you say like, this doesn't include context. It's like, well, who determines what the context is for a tweet? Go through my Twitter timeline. You should label every single one without context.
Don't tempt them, bro.
Look at Trung. Trung's, I mean, the lesson here is don't be an employee or whatever. You can't get rich being an employee. That should be by those same definitions. That's misinformation,
like the shit post
right?
He posts. Yeah. So actually, I do have a question. Sorry, go on.
I was just going to say, man, the horse is bolted. The horse is completely bolted. It's left the stable. Unless you turn Twitter off, that's like, this is going to happen more frequently, more crazily. Like, just entropy, man. It's going to be crazy.
I think the example you gave about the deepfakes is just another level. Like, we're seeing, like, if people can't even verify something that you can easily Google. Like, another example in recent weeks is the Joe Rogan thing with his what was the name of that drug that he took? Ivermectin, right? And I think CNN and a few others reported he's taking horse
tranquilizer or something like
horse tranquilizer, something like for animals, right? And
we should probably bleep that out because we're going to get like freaking subdued on this.
To talk about. But yeah, so and that's another example. Like, I heard him talk about it on his podcast where they were saying, should he sue them? Because like, the version he's taken is obviously for humans, and it's been given to him by a doctor. Like, his doctor.
Crazy, man.
And that was just taken by like real, like proper publications. So the question I had for you, Trung, because you're technically a journalist, I don't know if you count yourself as an official journalist.
Dude, I am not a journalist.
You're a writer, right?
I do not.
You're a writer that writes for.
Let me make it very clear. And I've said this a lot. There's no pretense that I'm a journalist. Journalists are very. I am an internet commentator. And
okay,
let's just make that 100%.
Like it. That's CNBC is going to be your title.
But listen, Jack, trusted distribution. Listen, if I'm wrong, I want to tell people I'm wrong.
Yeah.
And I source everything. If I write, I'm going to throw it, man. You look at my sources, you tell me if it's dumb, okay? I'm not going to say it's the word of God. But like a journalist, if they write an article, like at the Times, they're going to have a fact checker look at every single thing they write, right?
Well, I was going to ask you, Trung, is like you write and you write for
I'll tell you actually the thing with the hustle is like, so we base almost all of our writing off of primary like somebody, like we'll write off
like
of
an interview,
Wall Street Journal, a TechCrunch, or a Financial Times. It's just like when you source them and you go like, listen, if there's a correction to be made, we'll obviously do it. But like, I'm not going out there doing original reporting, right? Like that's the difference.
So, and just to clarify though, from even just being exposed to it, not as an official journalist, but someone who writes about things going on every day, you write like that. You still probably have some level of having to double check stuff and.
Bro, I go deep in research, man. Like here, I see this shit. It's so sloppy, right? And it's like, and the idea that you need to be a quote unquote journalist to do like basic Googling research.
Googling, yeah, exactly.
Dude, just Google, literally. Like when people always ask me, it's like, hey man, like, how did you come up with X, Y, and Z, or how did you find this? I'm like, dude, it's literally like on the first page of the Google results, right? It's like that's like always the answer. It's like the 8th thing down. I know no one looks after like the first 2-3 things. It's like go down a little bit more, man. It's there. I can't tell you that it's 100% factually true, but I'm gonna link to it. You make your own decision. I mean, that's the takeaway here, right? It's like.
It ends up being like, you know, the forwarded WhatsApp messages from your mom. I don't know if you get this, but
oh my God, dude,
my mom is in like a bunch of like religious groups on WhatsApp, and she forwards a lot of stuff.
Mom, man. Sorry, mom, if you're listening, I don't receive your emails anymore. Let's go straight to spam, yo.
But no, the worst is obviously like sometimes it's not even about that stuff, but she'll. Not to pick on my mum either, but she'll forward on stuff. And I'm like, Mum, you shouldn't be forwarding this to people. This is like going to get people in trouble. They're going to get spammed and they're going to get like a phishing attack on their phone or whatever.
Well, you know how people are so concerned about like under 15s as they should be on their phones? Bro, over 60s and the internet, not a safe combination, bro. Not a safe combination.
60 might be a bit brutal, but.
Bro,
the Facebook generation.
I mean, I was trying to figure out 2-factor authentication. My old man on his flip phone, bro. Like, it's not. And this is not a criticism, right? It's just like they grew up. I get it. I get it. I'm just saying, man. Let me tie a bow on all this. The whole point being, if these people can't fact check a Litecoin Walmart announcement, it's like we're doomed, right? And I think this goes back to something Jasmine's saying. This is what trusted distribution is about, right? It's like I'm not ever going to say I'm the word of God, right? I'm not the New York Times saying we are truth. Like that's literally their advertisement, right?
You should change your bio.
Yeah.
wearetruth.com.
But you know, I think Jackson has touched on this before. It's like people kind of appreciate other individuals. I mean, if you can own up to flaws, man, that's like, it's like nobody does it. It's just like, hey, if I'm wrong, I'm going to tell you I'm wrong. I'm probably going to have a great laugh about it too, unless it really, really harms somebody.
Yeah, for real.
In which case, I'll be very sympathetic. Yeah,
also, Trung, I think that brings up our next topic. So this kind of ties into like publishing directly to people and, you know, like legacy media we've been talking about, and then this new media where people are able to do what you're doing, like even for the hustle, but even for yourself. Like you both published frequently on Twitter and elsewhere. Jack, you shared that mirror post in our Telegram group. But we also had a question from, I don't know if I'm saying his name right, Ihor, I-H-O-R. Would love to get an intro to Mirror, what's possible, what's not, and how to win the race, how to build a community there. Now, first of all, before we answer that specifically, could we give a primer on what Mirror is? I know we've mentioned it briefly in the past, but just like what's special about Mirror and why were you guys using it for this purpose?
So it's like a crypto native publishing platform. It's the easiest way to think about it. So like a WordPress would have been in, I don't know, the 90s probably when blogging got going. I have no idea, but this is like, I think the best example of it's essentially a blogging product or a publishing product where you can write blog posts to the Ethereum blockchain. You can mint NFTs directly within Mirror. You can sell your writing as an NFT. You can crowd fund. So I think this may have been before we started recording Not Investment Advice. I did a collaboration with
Packy.
Mario
and Mario Gabriel. Yeah, we did a crowd fund to design 3 NFTs, and then we auctioned off the NFTs, and we gave the proceeds of the NFTs back to the people who crowdfunded it. So it's like it's like this fundraising platform, blogging platform, publishing platform, all in one. They're developing all these different modules that are just, I think it's incredible. The one I dropped in Telegram is an edition. So you can collect an NFT, which has the graphic that I contributed, and then it's attached to the writing that the other guys did. And that shows up in your wallet. And it's like a crypto Patreon / WordPress. There's like really interesting stuff happening there. So anyway, to get onto Mirror, this is really genius how they did this. They had this thing called the Write Race, which is, I don't know how they actually kicked it off in the first place. I think I joined around week 8, but you have to get votes from people who have Write tokens. So they onboarded a few people, I'm presuming, who were either investors or big believers in what they were doing, who were writing content very specific to being a creator on Ethereum or in crypto. And every week they have this 2-hour window where you could vote people onto Mirror, and they have these social integration with Twitter where you have to verify your identity on Mirror with your Ethereum address. You connect it to your Twitter account, and then you can see who's petitioning to get onto Mirror that week, and everyone gets to assign votes to them. So the top 10 of people that anyone can enter, as long as you connect your wallet, you can enter. And then the top 10 that get voted for every week go through. And the votes are cumulative. So if you make 11, you keep your votes and then you go to the next week. So everybody comes back every week and like, please vote for me on Mirror. And throughout the first 3 months or so, it's everyone with clout in crypto, right? It's just a social graph of people who know each other, and that's why it feels like this gated thing, but it also did a huge service for their growth because everybody contributing was talking about the stuff that they are about, right? They understand the platform and the nature of it, so they got this really good critical mass going. And I think they're still running the same mechanic. It may be a different time of week now. So I think it used to be Wednesday. Yeah. So yeah, they do it Wednesday afternoons. And every week now on a Wednesday, I get 50 DMs like, please, can you vote for me in Right Race? Because everyone can track who's voted for who and how many votes you got. So I'm assuming at a certain point, they're going to either take that restriction off or they're going to do a new mechanic, but it's done a really good job of growing it it's like a democratic system really, right? With some restrictions on how many people you let in at a time, but it keeps the quality high early on.
Do you know how many people they let on every week?
10.
Oh, it's only 10. Damn.
Yeah. So I think they must be on week 30 or 40 now. So there's a couple hundred or 300-400 publications on there at this point. And you have to write a little pitch that goes with you. What are you going to use Mirror to write about? Yeah, where else are we going with this conversation? That's what it is. And then you can use it to originally they were integrated with Zora, which is a NFT platform. They kind of have the ability to do editioned NFTs, which is, you upload one and you can specify how many editions you produce. So that was what the Afghanistan relief project we talked about was how that was done. Is it just 1,000 editions of the same NFT? Or you can do auctions, or you can do these crowd raises. It's really a fascinating thing. There's parts of it that I'm not as familiar with, but you can also set up tokens through there. So you could do a crowd fund, and we could say we want to do an NIA token with this crowd fund, and proportional to your contribution, you get distributed NIA tokens. And Mirror facilitates all of that. It's just like a WYSIWYG UI that you could just change a few values in, bang, the auction's up, and you're away. And then you can do all sorts of things on the back end with the token.
That's a community aspect, yeah? You can build in all these community tools within this public.
Correct.
Would you call it a blog? Is your media...
I think a publishing platform is probably a better way to think about it.
Because I feel like blog, you think of the traditional, Blogger, WordPress.
Also not journalists. Just want to say bloggers are also not traditionally journalists. Well, I just want to add, when I hear journalists, I'm thinking I hold
New York Times
the best journalists in the highest regard, right? Investigative journalists.
Yeah.
So Jack, question I have on Mirror is, it sounds really cool, and you've used it for a bunch of experiments. If you were to fast forward a couple of years and said, I wish they built out these features that I could use, is there anything that comes to mind?
Yeah, I'm actually asking, I asked them a couple of weeks ago and they were already building this where you can mint on your own contract. So right now, if you mint something, it'll say Mirror Edition. So when it goes to the secondary market on Opensea, it'll say, this is a Mirror Edition. You can obviously trace the origin of it and stuff, but eventually it'll say this is, blue check, visualized value contract. So now some of that artwork will be mixed in with other art that has been produced through Mirror Editions. So just essentially making the tools more and more sovereign, or they don't get bulked in with Mirror as a publishing platform. It basically gives you the infrastructure to create your own tokens for art. I think like the way you display your work as well will evolve. So right now it's like just a chronological blog, but I think, for publishers or people that make all sorts of different things, I can imagine this being like the framework for what the Web3 personal website looks like, which obviously there's a lot of different ways you could slice that up. But I think maybe a good way to think about it is like their ambition, or at least what I infer from what they're building, how I think about their ambition is like, it's like the Shopify for digital content that is like crypto native. I think that's where they're going. Like, and I love the way it's designed, the way it looks. Like there's a lot of care put into how it's built.
What is your URL? Is it mirror?
vv.mirror.xyz.
Okay. And what was your pitch to get onto the platform?
I didn't have one. I was in like week 8, and then I just went on Twitter and like.
Wait, how did you get in so fast? You didn't even have to pitch?
No, I just knew a few people that had votes.
Oh, whoa! What is this? What is this,
watch
guys?
out.
Well, there's lobbying in every field here. I worked with Mario on that drop. I think that was the week before. And I was like, oh, this is cool as hell. I want my own thing. And I said to Mario, like, can you vote for me in the race next week?
Tell me what was special. I think why don't we pin it with this? Talk through what you did with Mario and how it's different than traditional publishing. What made it Web3? What made it, this whole crypto enabled publishing?
Yeah, that was so like a lot of fun. So we had these both separate entities. I didn't actually know Mario before this. Tom Osman actually connected the two of us, and he was doing a report on the Coinbase S1. So when Coinbase was going public, he wanted to do this massive generalist breakdown. If you're not reading the generalist already, go check it out. It's badass. And he was like, oh, I want to do it on Mirror and I want to make NFTs. And at that point in time, like, I think I was just after I'd started dabbling on Foundation and like crypto native messages in NFTs. So Tom hooked us up, and then just a few tweets we put out like, oh, we're going to collaborate on this thing. We want to crowdfund some funds. Like I got paid a flat fee to make the NFTs, and then we're going to auction them on the open market, and everything that they go for above and beyond what we crowd raise will be profit to the investors, right? Not investment advice. I don't think we promised anything, and we shouldn't have, but we definitely didn't. But the idea being, support this project, and then we're going to sell these pieces, and whatever we make will go back. So it was like a Thursday night or something. We tweeted it out, the link, and it was like, you could see this like little progress bar, and we were raising 20 Ethereum, and it just went like ding, 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 ding. And everyone was so excited about Mirror at the time as well. Just it cleared in such a short amount of time. In 40 minutes, I think we raised 20 Ethereum.
Oh my goodness, dude.
Mad.
That's 6
Crazy.
figures now.
Yeah, crazy.
Yeah.
But you guys cashed that out, yeah?
I just got paid my contribution. I don't know what happened to the rest of it. And then we produced the article, the NFTs. We sold all the NFTs. I think we made 30 or something, maybe a little more than 30 off all of those. So we covered our costs and delivered some upside back to everyone.
Sick.
And
Sick.
yeah, it was cool, man. It's just like, it definitely, the one caveat I want to apply across all of this is like, Web3 does not instantly make you able to like make money necessarily, but it does plug you into these networks that are way more liquid. Like if we'd have put up a GoFundMe and be like, hey, we're raising 40 grand to write an article, people would be like, kick rocks. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it's like, there's something to do with this movement being at the point in time it is, where people are like, oh, I want to be part of this. Like, this is a world's first, like a crowdfunded article that's going to be hopefully reimbursed by NFT sales. And yeah, there's just something about, I mean, Bilal, you could probably attest to this too, is like, it's just a different, you just think about it differently. It's like kind of experimenting with money as opposed to investing it, because we're so early in the space. That's just a nice way to put it.
Toads are an investment, though. Let's make it Cryptoadz. Cryptoadz is a long-term hold. Bilal went in there he gave his girlfriend, gave his partner the seed phrase and just said, you know what? Just hold on to this. It happens to me.
Save it for the kids.
Open this in 40 years. You guys remember Shawshank Redemption? Bilal's going to put that.
Chipping away in the wall.
He's going to put that, laminate that piece of paper, put it under the rock. And then by the end, he's going to meet him in Mexico. He's going to meet Red in Mexico.
Oh my God. So so Jack, on the mirror, no, that's really, if I'm honest, I'm still wrapping my head around all of that stuff because I've seen it in action. I've seen you guys do it. I'm just trying to compare it to, you know, what, like you said, what already exists. Right now, you can't go on WordPress and fractionalize the article and sell it as an NFT, obviously. Right. That's basically what these guys are doing, which is incredible infrastructure. I'm just trying to think further ahead, like other interesting use cases of it. Like, have you seen any other people that you're like, oh, wow, that's a really creative way to use it? Or
oh, mate, there's some crazy stuff that's been done on there. And so they did a EIP 1559 article to basically pay back I think some of the developers that worked on it. I think I'm getting that right. And, you know, raised millions of dollars and had these beautiful collaborations with artists that made like these Ethereum themed like trophies essentially to mark this moment in time. That's a really cool use case of it, right? Where you're aligning it with something that's happening on that technology, using the technology to fund it. Someone raised $2 million to make an Ethereum film, like a documentary about Ethereum on Mirror. There's some of them just escape me, the complexity of them, but there's like a decentralized music label someone's building, and they had like different levels of access passes. So you can do like within one article or think of it like a decentralized Kickstarter almost, but it has these like deep levels of functionality that you can embed at all these different levels. So you could run like 3 editions that are like, say 500 each of like, these are different rarities. So X is priced at 5 Ethereum, Y is priced at 3, and then Z is priced at 1. And there's 200 of those each. You can collect whatever you want. And then you could have 3 auctions running in the same article that are just like highest bidder over the course of 24 hours. So you could do all of these interesting mechanics for raising money. And then you can also add different levels of access based on what people collect. So you could be like a mega backer in the same way that like Kickstarter, you know, you get 10 of the thing and your name on the front, and someone flies
like
around to see
Patreon,
you.
You're the producer if you go above a certain level or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. And like, I think it's just, it's unlike some of the platforms where it's like, this is how it works, come and use it. Like put your JPEG into this hole and then start an auction. This is way more like, hey, here are all these blocks and here are all these features that you can essentially build a story with and use that however you like. I think
it should be a great Twitter thread, by the way. Just FYI, if you went like, here are 10 things people did.
I should, but people are going to get so pissed off because it's really hard to get on there.
Ah, fair enough. Okay,
fair enough.
But it is a badass thing, and
that's
like
why I should do it because
yeah.
No, that's really interesting.
And I think you know, I'm not for or against the mechanic that they've used to grow it, because I think, you know, to be completely candid, like I report little bugs with it as it's growing, so it's not ready for like tens of thousands of people to descend upon it.
They probably need it to be at this scale for the moment.
Yeah. So very cool piece of technology. I think, and the team is just like, they're legends. Every time you get on the phone with them, they're smart and building it for the right reasons. It's cool.
Yeah, really. Let's just say their head of product is not front running article.
It's front running, getting Jack's NFT. No, I mean, I think it just shows, man, how early this stuff is. It's crazy because this is just like, honestly, even for me, I'm just like my head spinning a bit because I'm like, all right,
there's a lot. There's a lot,
but that's kind of why we do the podcast, man. Because every week,
all I remember is $100,000. That's it. That's all I heard. I think $100,000 was thrown out there at some point in the last 10 minutes.
It's probably worth 300,000 now because it was
exactly,
when ETH was
right?
like 1/3 of the price. All right, boys, let's move on because I know that was really, really interesting. We've got a few more things to cover off before. But before I do that, was there anything else before I move on?
No, maybe you want to rip
good.
through the Web3 bullet points and then we can finish.
Yeah,
off
I was just going to do this real quick though. Jack, what's the Web3? Oh, resources. Yeah, Jack, one of the questions we got from the group is Tico asks, any resources you'd recommend for a newbie to understand the world of Web3? Obviously, this podcast is number one on the list, but apart from that,
100%.
what else?
Kevin Rose, Bankless.
Kevin Rose, Bankless. Yeah, and
great.
Kevin Rose has got a podcast called Modern Finance, I think it's called,
Yeah.
right? Really amazing. I'm
they're
loving that
definitely
podcast. And he's
like
a boss.
And then just most of the stuff that I've consumed that has stuck with me has been Twitter. So I published a little thread. I think I got it pinned right now. That's maybe 20, 25 people and threads to read. And then like when you get deeper, like the Bankless and the Modern Finance stuff is going to give you the depth of knowledge.
You pinned something on your profile?
Yeah, just a collection of like Web3 resources.
That's perfect. All right, there's
definitely
question answered.
Awesome. Yeah,
Let's
we'll even share that in the Telegram group as well. We can reply to the comment there. And if you're listening and you're still not in it, you're missing out. So make sure you click the link in the comments below and join us in Telegram. In the future, we might not be able to just keep it open like that. So we'll just join it while we can. And it's been a lot of fun because we opened up comments recently. People going wild, saying some mad things in there. I love it. So
it might be NFT gated soon enough.
Yeah, exactly. Or it might move. So we'll have to see.
Keep people on their feet.
Keep on their toes. All right, boy, Jack, I'm just going to share my screen. You were trying to rile up the internet here, so.
Oh, yeah.
Wait, can you see this? All right, and if you're listening on audio, you can see this is Jack. He just put this out today on the day of recording, duplicate, and it's a Bored Ape in the background. I'll just let you, I mean, look, a lot of your art, a lot of your stuff you're doing nowadays is social commentary and like capturing a moment in time. So like, talk us through what this is, man.
So the Bored Ape thing, we talked about it a bunch on this podcast. What makes it different is you have commercial rights to use your ape, to resell your ape if you own it. So this project, if you're listening, you can find it on Twitter or on vv.mirror.xyz. It was called Duplicate, and it's basically experimenting with the idea of derivative artwork. So I bought this ape in early May. So the project minted in April. I bought it in May. And there's an article I wrote of what the experiment is. It's like, so if you're able to make derivatives of this thing, if they're clearly derivatives, right? You can't just, actually, you know what? You could sell a t-shirt with that artwork on it as long as you own it. You don't have to modify it whatsoever. But to sell an NFT of the exact same image, I think is a little bit egregious, right? So this is a derivative because it's a very, very clearly marked copy of an original. So I put these duplicate like warning labels over the top of this thing. And my thesis was, is anybody like, or the experiment, the hypothesis, I should say, that I was testing was like, would anybody want to buy this thing if it's a clear copy, right? It's like if you had a fake Rolex or a Gucci bag that had like a sticker on it that said, this is fake, this is not real, this is a duplicate. Is that still valuable? I played with some of the mechanics of it. So I made the artwork, minted it, made 69 editions available just because, crypto culture demands that you sell 69 of anything, and set the price to 0.0, which was the mint price of the Bored Apes. So I was just playing with a bunch of different mechanics, like the ability to play with the commercial rights you have for the ape to expand the network of this thing without diluting it. Is the intention.
Have you sold?
They sold out in an hour.
Oh my God. Wait, what's the total? How much did you make?
5.5 Ethereum.
Yeah, nothing crazy, but just like, oh my God, dude. When you were talking, it's like kind of what Virgil Abloh would do, right? He would take the exact same thing and just like, exact things we talk about.
The 3% rule, right?
Yeah. change it 3%, make it still recognizable, but then add the humor, right? I mean, I think you nailed it. I think Virgil Abloh would be very happy with what you did here.
Well, let's try and get Virgil, if you're listening. I got some more apes, and you can use them.
Yo, Virgil, you can
want.
have them, bro.
Yeah.
That's hilarious, man. Okay, so when did you do that? When did you launch that one?
3-4 hours ago.
Oh my God. Okay, to summarize, Jack just sold duplicate Bored Apes that he bought in May, which were a lot cheaper in May than they are now. It sold out 69 of them in a few hours. Okay.
Wait, so have you got any crazy comments and people annoyed at you yet? Like, what's the situation, or in the Bored Ape Discord or anything like that?
No, I mean, I've been watching the culture of it, and there's a lot of people that make
not the first time,
of
right?
it. It's happened, but not in this exact format where you have multiple editions of it, right? Where you'd have like, we're going to take one and then we're going to modify it somehow. We're going to like render it in stone or steel or something. So I think what I'm trying to play with or show people is like, if you're part of this network, you could basically recoup your investment by creating derivatives of this thing you bought.
Yeah.
And like, obviously there's a social commentary piece to this. There's some element of it being first or interesting that and the fact that you have distribution that makes it possible to sell it. But fun experiment, man.
Jack, can I ask a question? Because last year you obviously had like visualized value courses and like all the stuff that you built up originally with your visualized value brand. You still got that going, right? Like it's on the side.
Yeah, it still runs. Yeah.
You like, compared to doing that to this, like, how is the feeling for you, just as someone who's like a lean individual team? Well, I know Celia, your wife, works with you on it as well, but I'm just curious because like I met you both of us met you when you were doing that or like focused on that, and there's been this transition, and it's just like, from knowing you a bit, it seems like all you want to do is like be this one-man media company basically and like create stuff, right? Like, you're a creative person. Yeah. So I'm just curious, like, between that evolution, like, what's the difference and how has it been for you making that kind of transition?
You know, it's funny. It's like there's some of the same principles apply. It's like all of the stuff that was codified in the visualized value stuff is like, this is just the same stuff on rocket fuel. Like it's like
reapplied.
Oh my God.
The exponential application of it is really like nutty. And I think we talked about this before, but I was like, you put everything into a curriculum that you've learned over the course of 10 years. It's like, where do you go from there? Like, we still, LinkedIn is an example of where it's like way more like that's old narrative is still running, where you talk about the like design and productization. And then Web3 is like this beta testing skunkworks thing on Twitter that is like, you know, the foundation for maybe the next phase of the business. And I think Web3 actually makes some of the things that were really difficult about productizing yourself or finding opportunity on the internet. You can tap into these networks that are already like cash flowing and attention, like just magnets. So they complement each other, but it's not immediately obvious that they're complementary. But the feeling of like doing something that's completely new, obviously, is way more engaging and interesting than trying to break through the noise with a product that is like has been emulated 100 times already, if that makes sense. Like that market got to such a saturation point, and there's like a lot of VC money in that world now of like online education, and they'll outspend you and out like build you and all of these things. All of those products, I still 100% put my name behind everything in there. And I think Web3 is like this exponent that you can add on top of that. That's even more makes all of it even more powerful.
Yeah, I love it.
Well, remember, LeBron won his first 2 chips in Miami, goes back to Cleveland, wins one, and then goes to LA. So Jack right now is in the Cleveland phase of his career. He's already won the chips with VV, which he still puts 100% the entirety of his name behind. But now he's exploring the Cleveland phase of his career.
He just moved to Atlanta instead.
Yeah.
When you come back to New York, it's going to be the Lakers season.
Wait, Jack, are you full-time in Atlanta now?
Yeah, temporarily, yeah.
Oh, so when you okay, cool. Well, how temporary?
Till we figure out what we're gonna do.
All right, man. Vancouver, dude. You got to
vote in the comments below. Where should Jack? Where should Jack move?
If you want a good place to exchange your cash
Petition.
for casino chips, come to Vancouver.
Perfect.
All right, what's next?
All right, we got a few more things. Yeah, that was definitely. I mean, that was also GJ Sequera. We got some cool sounding names in our group chat, by the way. That was his question answered. He was asking, does Jack just like playing with fire? So on the duplicate. So yeah, let's wrap it up with a quick roundup, because I know we already talked about Opensea, insider trading already. There's a couple other things on Apple and Miamicoin and Mayor Suarez. Let's do the Miamicoin one really quickly, because I know we want to do a full episode on that and bring the Citicoin person on. But
Jack,
do
get
any
us up
of you?
to speed on that.
Yeah, Jack, do you know what happened in the last week or so?
Yeah, so let me give a non-technical explanation of what I understand that happened. So Citicoin is like a project built on Stacks, which is like the smart contract infrastructure for Bitcoin. So like, as I don't know if they would describe it as an Ethereum competitor, but essentially it's this thing that makes Bitcoin programmable. So Stacks is the token, and then Citicoin has a relationship to Stacks. So there are very like technical layers in between these two things. But the first Citicoin to launch was Miamicoin, and you could stake Stacks to earn Miamicoin. So this is like a
incredible
vote with your wallet moment, right? It's like you believe in the growth of Miami as a city, you can, put capital behind that bet. And as a function of the yield that is earned from that staking, again, we'll get the guy on to explain it in detail. There is I think a 30% of that yield is automatically routed to a wallet that is reserved for like the city of Miami treasury. So as a staker, like that's completely transparent for everyone involved in it financially. And the sort of goal of the protocol is like, can we get a city to pick up the bag, is the term that they use. Like you basically tell them, we have $5 million waiting for you in this account, custodied. All you have to do is vote to claim it. And there's obviously layers of government. It's not just like one person's decision. But I think Suarez a month ago like stated his intention to use the funds, and then it went through all of the requisite layers of approval. And he signed an executive order yesterday, I think, where it's like, yeah, Miami is going to use this money and commit it to making Miami the capital of capital. That's the line they're using, like going to be crypto friendly. We're going to invest it in ways, that's going to bring talent to Miami. And obviously we know among the people that we listen to and read, like Miami's having this resurgence based on a lot of different factors. But Mayor Suarez is playing this role of like the CEO of a city. And if you read some Balaji and these people that have been speculating on the future of how this stuff's going to work, then like these decisions, like a mayor of a city is going to be akin to the CEO of a startup in a lot of ways. And protocols like Miamicoin let you bet on mayors and city people that live there.
That's really crazy. That's interesting. I'm just going to quickly share my screen for 1 second, because this was Ryan Hoover, the founder of Product Hunt. Let me make sure this is the right screen. Can you see my Twitter screen?
Yep.
So it says update on Miamicoin, and this was August 31st, so it's a few weeks ago. By this point, but he said since August 9th, my 9,500 stacks, around 13.5 grand, turned into 48 grand via mining. The best part, I can stack MIA to earn another 20,000 stacks, 30 grand per month. What the hell? All right, so I saved this, and I might have even shared it in the group chat. I can't remember, but I don't fully understand how you do that, but I want to know.
The full episode.
We'll get Patrick. Patrick will do an episode. We'll get him on. He's so he's at Freehold. Yeah,
amazing. I'm gonna save that because that sounds crazy. Like I don't understand. That sounds too good to be true almost. And And what I'll do is, I don't know if we'll get him, but I can ping Mir Suarez too. I've spoken to him before. We were supposed to do a podcast together.
Let's go, buddy.
Yeah, I doubt. I mean, he's quite hard to get, and he does like 15-minute interviews, which I'm not a fan of, but we'll do it for him if he can do it. So let's see if we can get him on too. Maybe we can do a double episode with those
that
two to get both their perspectives. Anyway, that is crazy, man. I mean, if just stepping back for a second, just this basically means people can, like, as a mayor of a city, you can not only be essentially pitching the citizens, you're then going out to the world on the internet or whatever, the way he's been doing, and saying, if you want to benefit from us building Miami up or building Vancouver up. Yeah, Pamphit. Like, that is, I mean, I'm curious to hear like what people think about that. Is that like capitalism going too far, or is it kind of like just the evolution of what's already happening? Really, really cool idea either way. And it's cool to see him just leaning into all of this stuff. He's been killing the game.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to draw the comparison to Litecoin in a negative way, but it's like this is the liquidity of information and trends and markets on steroids, right? It's like this city is growing and this is story that you're like captivated by. And you believe it. How can you own a piece of that upside in the same way that like, oh, that startup looks interesting, or, you know, this commodity you believe in, like, it's just the implications of it are pretty nuts. And Citycoin is like, they're figuring out which city they're gonna do next. So I think New York's on the board, San Francisco. Austin,
New York needs to change their damn rules first before that, because they've got they're the only state to not allow certain crypto stuff, I think. The other thing is, I would love to see, and maybe this is part of the plan, I'd love to see them kind of rewarding actual residents too. Like, if you're a citizen, like if you live in Miami, your kids go to school in Miami, you've lived there forever, whatever, like there should be certain ways for them to benefit from that as well, because not everyone's got 10, 15, 50 grand to be putting into this sort of stuff.
I don't want to make any false claims, but I think that part of the pitch is like, with these funds, you could essentially like subsidize tax in these cities for a lot of people, or you could, you know, put it into whatever social program makes the most sense to develop talent and education and things of that nature. So I think obviously to just keep the benefits of this to like the small sliver of like tech bro society that's invested in it would probably be a bad execution. I think,
yeah, for sure,
get people on board by using it to elevate people that wouldn't have access to the investing opportunities through something like that, but are gonna definitely contribute to the economic growth of the place.
And also, I mean, imagine you could reward people for like volunteering in a community. Like, I mean, you obviously want people to do stuff like that for other reasons as well, but just there's so many interesting applications of something like this. It's pretty wild, man. All right, let's move on, because I know we're hitting time soon. Let's wrap it up with Apple. I know they had an event this week. By the time people listen to this, it was a few days ago. The summary I saw is the iPhone is probably very similar to last year. But Trung, you said that you had a few interesting things on Apple. What came to mind for you, man?
Yeah, again, iPhone is on number 13 now. I think often gets lost that people know that Apple's the biggest company in the world, biggest private company, and it's worth like $2.5 trillion. It's almost unfathomable how successful the iPhone is as a consumer product, right? It's probably the most successful consumer product in the history of mankind. There'll never, ever be something like it again. They've sold over $1 trillion of iPhones. If you just think about that, right? They'll sell, I think, 150 billion this year. For all the jokes of, it looks the same as last year, I think Wedbush Security says 250 million people upgrade. Like, think about that, right?
That's
it's
crazy.
insane. And their installed base of iPhone is 1 billion. So 1 billion iPhones are installed right now. Not to say that everybody has bought the new one, but the old iPhones start circling through the ecosystem, right? Like, somebody in Vietnam will have a iPhone 6, or somebody in Nigeria will have an iPhone 7, right? And actually, the iPhone is such a status symbol that in a lot of these emerging market countries, the richest people will all have iPhones, right? It's a luxury item. If you're the top 1% of any country in the world, you're probably gonna have an iPhone. And so in the last few years, though, it's like, what can the iPhone like like the form factor changed a lot in the early years, right? And like the camera keeps getting better, and that's kind of where it's at right now. Like the main selling point for any iPhone at this point is like how much better is the camera, right? It's like, and the camera this year is supposed to be insane, but they also added better computing processing power. Not that people really need it. It's not like you're doing heavy stuff on your phone. And then they extended the battery life by 2.5 years. The reason why I want to talk about it was
2.5 years?
No, sorry, 2.5 hours.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah,
I thought you were referencing like the fact that every time there's an update coming up, it starts to die on you.
Yeah, they got pinged on that, right?
Yeah.
A big thing that happened with Apple was that obviously in the early years, people were changing their phones out like once every year or every 2 years. Now it's like once every 4 years, so it's a bit slower. But anyways, this is a long-winded way of saying let's get to the jokes. So hilarious memes, man. Let me pull some of these memes up. Oh my God, it's so good, dude. I actually wrote this with Parikh Patel, our old friend on Twitter. All right, so here's the new iPhone. For people that see it, there it is, right? Again, the new camera is pretty crazy, souped up. But somebody put this great tweet out. Halid Camera showed how the camera has changed over the last 8 models. You can see it started off iPhone 6 for those listening. It's like a single circle. And now it's just getting crazier and crazier, right?
Yeah, it's like Mach 3.
Yeah, so the memes started coming out. It's so funny. This one killed me, dude. It's a
the Spider-Man.
It's a picture of an old so there's one of the Spider-Man meme. Everybody pointing at each other. It's like every phone's the same. This other one killed me though. Like I always buy my dad's the same. Like my dad at this point. He likes his 1 or 2 different type of shirts, right? So this meme is like a dad that's wearing a green plaid shirt, and then the present that he gets is another green plaid shirt. And it's literally just like the iPhone is like, what's the real upgrade here? And then there's some funny ones. Yeah, but the camera is so good. Yeah, this is the one I want to laugh about. So I did a meme here. It's the famous disappointed cricket guy. So if for those not familiar, there's a meme of a cricket dude that was extremely disappointed by a play on the pitch. It's become like the internet's go-to meme for like dude that's disappointed. But the funny thing is I posted the meme and I just put Steve Jobs' face on it. Yo, Jack, how's that Photoshop, by the way?
The light, everything's good.
Lasso tool.
Yeah,
magic lasso tool.
It's literally just as Steve Jobs watching the Apple event and seeing all the stuff he would have said no to, just super disappointed because of how the cameras just become so unwieldy. But the funny thing is, man, I turn on my phone and Sareem Akhtar, the subject of the original meme, retweets the Steve Jobs meme. But
I was gonna say when you showed that picture of him, I was thinking in my head he must be a Pakistan cricket fan because always disappointed, but he probably is Indian, to be fair.
No, he's Pakistani.
He's Pakistani. All right, because his name sounds Pakistani, but he could be like a Muslim Indian as well.
Yeah,
actually,
anyway. So I have a couple questions for you guys. Just more on. I'll ask you guys a couple questions about iPhone and the most insane product ever, a consumer product, and then I'll finish with a thought about the future of Apple. Okay, so will you guys buy the new phone?
I probably will because I'm due an upgrade and I didn't last year, and I'm basically going to pay a similar amount, so I'll probably just get it.
And what about you, Jack?
I don't think so. I think I got the 12. I don't know what I have. The one with the 3 on it.
Yeah, exactly. At this point, nobody. That's a joke, right? It's like you don't even know.
You don't even know the difference.
Oh, mine's 11. Celia just corrected me, and that's fine. It's doing the job.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
I'm going to keep it. Yeah.
I'm on the iPhone upgrade program. That's the way they get you in a little bit because they're
going to do a super bundle. That's what people are saying, right? They're going to charge you $100 a month. Like it's probably coming to charge you $100 a month, and you just get a new phone every 2 years and a new laptop every 2 years, and
it's an incredible waste. It's an incredible waste.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, it would be. It's insane, right?
Especially a laptop. Like you don't need a laptop every 2 years.
Well, you don't even need it remotely. But I'll tell you the interesting about Apple. You know how like 5 years ago, everybody's like, what is Apple going to do after the iPhone, right? Like Apple's done. They don't have anything after the iPhone. People forget that these guys are printing $100 billion a year in profit, right? They're going to figure it out. But like, so if the next wave of computing is augmented reality, I don't know, you don't have to believe it, but if you do, and you think the next wave of computing, the platform is augmented reality, just no one is better placed than Apple to win that. Because think about, I talked to a tech guy, his name's Robert Scoble. He's a tech journalist, been in the game a long time. And he just broke it down. He's like, think about if you're building a competing kind of like the Facebook Ray-Ban eyeglasses, that's not meant to be AR, augmented reality, but that's kind of their product. He's saying like, if you're going to build that in the AR world, look what you're going up against. 1 billion people have an iPhone. So this is the huge advantage that Apple gets to do. These people also have AirPods and watches. So Apple gets to offload all the computing power that you would need in the glasses onto these things that people already have. So the competitors are going to have to put all the compute into the glasses, make it heavier. It's going to make it more expensive. And then Apple just gets to roll because everybody already has their equipment, right? And AirPods and watches were all just kind of the lead up into this. But that was kind of like, for me, I was like, oh, it's a no-brainer. These guys are going to own the AR. It's just like, it's not even close.
Trung, the other thing to add is like, just the one is the scale and the money, obviously. But the other thing is just like the brand compared to the others. So like Facebook, I mean, Google had Google Glasses, right? I remember I was there when that happened. And it was like, there was that meme or whatever where people would call you like a glass hole or whatever. Yeah, I never wore it on the street. I just tried it. And honestly, the idea was pretty cool. Like when you see the video for it originally, it was like you're walking down the street, and if it didn't look so douchey, like if you're on a bike and you can just see a little AR thing giving you directions, and then you can be listening to NIA podcasts in the corner and then like move it back and forth with the head movement. That's incredible, right? But like I remember the team who was working on it at the time, they partnered with like some fashion designer or brand, probably both. And it was like, that was the part that you can't just copy and paste. You know what I mean? Like Google makes like, Android devices are incredibly successful in their own way. But for something like this is, you need to go for the high end first.
Because it's luxury.
Exactly.
Luxury. Yeah.
And you can't just like partner with DVF and be like, oh, now we're luxury. Do you get what I mean? And that's what they were trying to do.
Let me give a thought, by the way. So Amanda Rosenberg.
Yeah, that's who I was thinking of. Yeah,
she worked on the Google Glass team, right? Is that who Sergey Brin got his hand caught in the cookie jar with?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
as reported by Vanity Fair. Yeah.
You guys Google that. I don't have to tell you what went down, man. You guys Google Sergey Brin Google Glass team. But
yeah, I know.
Okay, my last thought I wanted to jump on Bilal's comment was so Robert, this tech journalist, he actually said there's one competitor in the space. Actually, it's Tesla. Who's got the consumer
that's
brand?
Interesting. Yeah.
Who's got the eyewear? vision technology. No one's got better computer vision than Tesla.
That's interesting, yeah.
And they understand
doing self-driving cars.
Yeah, so there you go, man. That's interesting, right? Not that I don't know if that, but listen, if they need $100 billion run rate product and everybody's gonna be wearing glasses, it could be Tesla, man.
And then, sorry, the last thing I was gonna say, that was Google. The second one, really quickly, is Facebook. Like, I don't know how that's gonna go down with theirs, but like people are already scared about an iPhone, Facebook app listening to you. And then they're like post online like, oh, it's listening to me. I saw an ad for XYZ. So I just think that's another form factor that is going to be difficult for them to nail given those privacy implications. I don't know, man. But yeah, I think Apple are definitely best placed to make the most of that, man. And they'll make it look cool.
Sort of be like, hey, nothing to do with us, right? Facebook is like delivering the content, so you get way more scrutiny.
Yeah,
exactly. Plus they're doing all this iOS updates to block all these guys anyway. So, So, Trung, you also said you had some thoughts on Apple to wrap it up, or what is that what you were thinking about?
Yeah, that was it. Just the glass there, and
amazing,
and Tesla. That's it.
Love
man.
it.
That's all I had to say.
This is it.
Hey, Trung, I have one last question for you.
Yeah.
I saw this tweet earlier this week about Apple is a bank disguised as a SaaS, disguised as a hardware company. Do you have any insight into like how much money they're making off the business of money?
Oh, it's a total drop in the bucket. It's not even. Yeah, it's the iPhone is just like it's like 6% of their money, right? It's like even the well, let me answer this by saying this: 4 or 5 years ago, people thought, oh, Apple is going to become a services company, right? And as part of this narrative is the payments thing, but I think a stat came out that less than 5% of people use Apple Pay that own an iPhone. It still is just like they're just a pure cash making from the hardware. The services business is large. You make a lot of money. tens of billions, but for them, that's still a drop.
Right.
Which is what's so insane, right? And I think if they're really going to capture that next, and with all these App Store rulings that are coming out, they're going to lose more money from the App Store. So we'll see what happens. But actually, I did have one. No, go ahead.
They're probably going to be fine.
Yeah, they're going to be fine. I did
it.
have one last comment, actually. This was the comment. So Warren Buffett has a terrible reputation in tech, right? So he knew Bill Gates really well in the 90s and still never invested in Microsoft. He just couldn't wrap his head around the business model, right?
Sounds like me and you on Bored Ape, mate.
Yeah. Exactly.
Basically the same thing.
Yeah. Warren Buffett not investing in Bill Gates is actually kind of crazy. Like, he knew him really well from the early 90s, right? And probably left hundreds of billions, honestly, if he's going to put in big money. But what's funny is that, and this kind of gave me comfort in the sense, not that I'm Warren Buffett, but like, you just have to make a high conviction that one bet right one time. So in 2016, Apple put a $30 to $40 billion position. No, Berkshire Hathaway put a $30 to $40 billion position into Apple. I think now, including dividends, they've made $150 billion. Like their position is so up $150 billion. It's probably the greatest tech investment, pure public market tech investment ever. And this is a guy that waited until he was 80 years old to do it. You know what I mean? And
eating a hamburger a day from McDonald's, man. What a legend. With a full fat Coke.
Exactly, dude. So it's just the idea of like somebody that never invested in tech has probably made the greatest tech investment ever. There's something to chew on.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. I mean, yeah, I love it. A great way to wrap it up, man.
Yeah,
Jack, anything else? Anything else before we wrap
up? That was
up?
a good. No, I'm just gonna derail it from here. So let's call it.
That was solid, man. I think that was really fun. All right, so if you made it all the way here, thanks again for listening to another episode of Not Investment Advice. Like and subscribe. If you're listening on YouTube, make sure you just hit the like button. I know so many of you send us messages and say what you're liking about it and how you can help and stuff. That's just the best way. Just like, comment, make sure you subscribe across all the platforms. Share it with your friends. Share it in your group chats. That's the only way we can keep bringing this to you every week. So thanks again, and we will see you on the next one.
Awesome. Thank you, brother.
Peace.
Awesome.